Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. India has recorded the world's highest daily coronavirus cases for the fourth consecutive day. The country has reported nearly 350,000 new cases and over 2,000 deaths over the past 24 hours. In a radio address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged citizens to exercise caution, saying India is shaken by the COVID-19 storm. Meanwhile, Pakistan has registered 118 fatalities and over 5,600 infections overnight. Globally, the new coronavirus has claimed close to 3.1 million people, while infecting over 146 million others. Turkey says it has summoned the U.S. ambassador over President Joe Biden's declaration of the 1915 massacres of Armenians as genocide. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry said Biden's comments have no legal basis and Ankara condemns it in the strongest terms. Biden is the first U.S. president to formally call mass killings of Armenians during the World War I as genocide. Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has resigned in order to hold early parliamentary elections in the republic. In a televised address, Pashinyan announced plans to continue fulfilling his duties as the Prime Minister until the polls on 20th of June. Pashinyan was under pressure from military and civilians after losing the war with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh last year. China has told the European Union to stop sowing discord in the South China Sea. Talking to media, a spokesperson for the Chinese mission to EU said security risks in the South China Sea mainly come from outside the region. This comes after EU's diplomatic service said Chinese vessels in the sea's Whitsun Reef endangered regional peace and stability. And in cricket, Pakistan are 109 for 9 against Zimbabwe in the third and final 2020 international in Harare. Earlier, the Green Shirts won the toss and decided to bat. The three-match series is leveled 1-all, with both sides eyeing a win in the series decider. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the news in detail. India has recorded the world's highest daily coronavirus cases for the fourth consecutive day. The country has reported nearly 350,000 new cases and over 2,000 deaths over the past 24 hours. Globally, the new coronavirus has claimed close to 3.1 million people, while infecting over 146 million others. Details in this report.
The second wave of COVID-19 has hit India with a ferocity no other country has seen before. Pakistan has offered to provide relief support to India with ventilators, X-ray machines, protective gear, and other items. Pakistan's Foreign Office said the two countries can also explore ways to cooperate on mitigating the challenges posed by the pandemic. The U.S. says it is deeply concerned by the massive surge in India and will raise additional support to New Delhi and healthcare workers. In a radio address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged citizens to exercise caution, saying India is shaken by COVID-19 storm. This comes as oxygen's demand outpaces supply and people continue to die due to shortages, highlighting the crisis faced by the government.
They have no shame at all. Do you know how does a human being dies without oxygen? Have you seen a fish out of water? More than 20 patients have died here suffering just like that. Just like a fish out of water. This is unimaginable. A human being can't even see this sight. They have got no understanding or management.
In Europe, people are getting fed up with new and stricter restrictions. While Germany reported another 120 deaths and nearly 19,000 cases, hundreds took to the streets of Frankfurt denouncing the curfew. Over in the UK, 8 police officers got injured as they dispersed crowds during anti-lockdown protests in central London. The Metropolitan Police said they arrested 5 people for offences that include assault on officers. An estimated 10,000 people attended the protest against mask wearing, health passports, and vaccinations.
I'm here to stop the tyranny, genocide, control, for children's future, the poisoning from the vaccines, the shedding from the vaccines, which will from the people with the vaccines, who's had the vaccines, to wake people up, to stand in my truth, and stop the corruption.
The situation in Brazil remains grim, as the country registered over 3,000 deaths and more than 71,000 new infections. To add to the misery, an industrial plant dedicated to oxygen packing in Brazil's northeastern region exploded, leaving 4 people injured. Hospitals in Brazil have run out of oxygen, and the federal government had to fly oxygen in tanks across the country.
In Pakistan, 118 people have lost their lives to the coronavirus in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the countrywide death tally has risen to 17,117. The ministry said more than 5,600 people tested positive for the virus overnight. It added more than 795,000 people have been infected so far, whereas nearly 690,000 people have recovered. There are almost 88,700 active cases in the country. Meanwhile, the government has allowed walk-in vaccination facility for citizens aged 60 and above. Pakistan has received 500,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccine from China, while 3 Boeing 777 planes will bring 1 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine today. The United Nations Security Council has called on international community to cooperate actively with Pakistan in the fight against terrorism. In a press statement, the Council said terrorism constitutes one of the most serious threats to international peace and security. The 15-member body strongly condemned the terrorist attack in Quetta that left 5 people dead. The members called for bringing the perpetrators to justice. They also expressed their deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims and to the government of Pakistan. Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has resigned in order to hold early parliamentary elections in the republic. Pashinyan was under pressure from the military and civilians after losing a war with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh last year. In a televised address, Pashinyan announced plans to continue fulfilling his duties as the Prime Minister until the polls on 20th of June. He said his civil contract party will run in the elections and he will contest as a candidate for Prime Minister. Pashinyan said he is returning power to citizens so they could decide the future of the government through free and fair elections. Turkey says it has summoned the U.S. ambassador over President Joe Biden's declaration of the 1915 massacres of Armenians a genocide. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry said Biden's comments have no legal basis and Ankara condemns it in the strongest terms. It said Biden's statement had caused a wound in ties that will be hard to repair. Earlier, the Foreign Ministry urged the U.S. to correct its mistake. Biden is the first U.S. president to formally call mass killings of Armenians during the World War I as genocide. Turkey accepts many Armenians were killed in clashes with Ottoman forces during World War I, but it contests the figures and denies the killings were systematically orchestrated and constitute a genocide. The death toll from a fire at a hospital for COVID-19 patients in Iraq's capital Baghdad has risen to 82. Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi has ordered an investigation as over 100 people were injured. In a statement, al-Kadhimi said such an incident is evidence of negligence. He said hospital's manager and the heads of security and maintenance will be detained until those responsible are identified. The head of the Iraqi Civil Defense Unit says 90 people have been rescued from the fire in the Ibn Khatib hospital. Reports say an accident caused the oxygen tanks to explode, sparking the blaze. In Israeli-annexed East Al-Quds, police have scuffled with Palestinians as tensions flared during the Muslim holiday of Ramadan. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported 6 protesters were injured in the clashes. Palestinians say police have tried to prevent them from holding their usual Ramadan evening gatherings. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu chaired an emergency security meeting over the matter with senior Israeli officials. The Prime Minister warned that Israel remains prepared for all scenarios. Unrest started after far-right Jews clashed with Palestinians, calling for death to Arabs on Thursday. Hamas voiced support for the East Jerusalem protest after the incident. The protest spread to several cities in the West Bank and along the Israeli-Gaza border. Iran has strongly condemned the Israeli aggression against the residents of the occupied Holy Quds. Myanmar's shadow government of ousted lawmakers has welcomed a call by Southeast Asian leaders for an end to military violence. A parallel national unity government spokesperson said they are looking forward to firm action by ASEAN to follow up on its decisions. The EU has also supported ASEAN's commitment to start an inclusive dialogue to seek a peaceful solution. But people in Myanmar have criticized the deal, saying that it fell short of holding the army accountable for killings. Over 700 people have been killed by security forces in Myanmar since the military seized power in February. Russia has accused the Ukrainian armed forces of shelling the so-called Donetsk People Republic 9 times in the past 24 hours. The Joint Center on Ceasefire Control and Coordination's DPR mission said Ukraine fired over 90 shells during violations. Earlier, Russian warships blocked 3 points in the Black Sea to restrict the movement of foreign warships near Crimea. Warships positioned themselves near Sevastopol, executing the plan announced by Russia's defense ministry. The passage is expected to be closed until the 31st of October, but the ministry says it will not affect the navigation in the Kerch Strait. China has told the European Union to stop sowing discord in the South China Sea. This comes after EU said Chinese vessels in the South China Sea's Whitsun Reef endangered regional peace and stability. Talking to the media, the spokesperson for the Chinese mission to EU said security risks in the South China Sea mainly come from outside the region. The spokesperson said the region must not become a tool for certain countries to contain and suppress China. He termed the reef a part of China's Nansha Islands, adding Beijing's activities in the region are reasonable and lawful. The spokesperson urged the EU to respect the efforts of regional stakeholders in maintaining stability in the sea. In Japan, voting is underway for 3 vacant parliament seats, with outcomes likely to affect Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga's leadership status. The elections are the first national contest since Suga took office in September last year. 2 seats are up for grab in the upper house, while the third is in the lower house. Candidates from Suga's ruling coalition and those backed by the opposition are contesting the upper house seats. The lower house seat is being contested among opposition candidates after the ruling party pulled out. If the ruling coalition loses in the 2 elections, Suga's leadership in his Liberal Democratic Party could come into question. In Chad, rebels say they are prepared to observe ceasefire after the military said it bombarded them to the verge of despair. Earlier, rebels had vowed to advance on the capital, N'Djamena, following the funeral of President Idriss Deby, who died on the battlefield. In an interview, Front for Change and Concord in Chad's head said the ceasefire had to be observed by both sides. Muhammad Mahdi Ali said they cannot respect the truce unilaterally and let themselves be massacred. In response, military council spokesperson said they are rebels, which is why the military is bombing them and waging war. Deby Sand seized power after his father's death with an aim to oversee an 18-month transition to elections. But rebels said they do not accept any military government. In France, a facility trains ship captains and maritime pilots how to navigate the Suez Canal at a miniature replica of the Egyptian waterway. Details in this report.
The mariner nudges back on the power and makes a subtle adjustment while navigating his cargo vessel through a narrow point in the Suez Canal. Not the Egyptian one, but a replica in the middle of a French forest. The stretch of water was built to train ship captains and maritime pilots how to sail across the Suez Canal, a skill now in the spotlight after the Ever Given cargo ship got stuck in it last month amid high winds and a sandstorm. The channel is built to 1/25th the scale of the section of the real Egyptian waterway. Trainees have to steer through the scale models of massive container ships without getting stuck.
We are in the Port Ravel Suez Canal on a scale of 1/25. The specificity of this site is that the depth, the banks, the shape of the canal are exactly those of the actual historical canal before the 2015 expansion. That is in order to put trainees in very realistic conditions. We make them work in, let's say, normal conditions here, emergency situations where they lose a certain number of technical means or they have to deal with the most varied and complex problems we can put in place for them.
Located in the foothills of the Alps, the Port Ravel facility is designed to replicate some of the trickiest spots in global shipping. Underwater turbines are also present to replicate currents and waves, while training instructors stimulate steering problems and engine outages to see how the trainees react.
The difficulties are the same like in the actual Suez Canal, except that the small differences might be that sandstorms are hard to simulate here. Otherwise, we have very powerful wind gushes that will take you and your ship to a side or another. We have temperatures that will have an impact on your system. And then, we have all the problems and technical issues that might come up. Like in your car, you can have a problem with your gearbox, an engine problem. All of this can happen on a ship as well.
Managers of the facility say that the recent incident of the Suez Canal's blockade may prompt shipping companies to send their staff for refresher courses.
More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Mexico, scientists have declared the Ayoloco Glacier extinct by placing a symbolic plaque in its place. One of the country's permanent bodies of ice, the glacier was located on the top of the Iztaccíhuatl volcano. Details in this report.
A massive glacial retreat has been globally observed over the past few decades amid the climate crisis. A group of scientists erected a plaque that officially acknowledges the death of the Ayoloco Glacier in Mexico that disappeared in 2018. Researchers trekked to the site of the now non-existent ice mass to leave a message for future generations.
The Ayoloco Glacier existed here and it receded until it disappeared in 2018. In the coming decades, the Mexican glaciers will irretrievably disappear. This plaque is to record that we knew what was happening and what was necessary to do. Only you will know if we did it.
Iztaccíhuatl, which means white women, was named after the Aztecs for the mountain's feminine form and now the snow that covered it. Scientists have pointed to global warming as the chief cause of the disappearance of the glacier.
This plaque is not a plaque of honor. It is a plaque of dishonor, of the shame we feel. We are not talking about the climate change, but the climatic emergency.
Most tropical glaciers like those in Mexico are much smaller than their cousins closer to the poles. Snowfalls are now scarce on the 50 to 100 meter mountain peak, with vegetation growing at ever higher altitudes.
Major Gulf markets are trading mixed today, with healthcare and petrochemical shares making a major impact. Saudi Arabia's benchmark index has gained marginally, with medical services rising close to 2%, while Saudi Cayenne Petrochemical jumped nearly 4.5%. The Abu Dhabi index also edged up, helped by 0.5% gain in telecom. In Dubai, the main share index eased fractionally due to a decrease in Emaar properties in Dubai investments. In Qatar, the benchmark lost marginally, with Commercial Bank falling nearly 1%. Now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.